Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. If you're looking for jewelry that makes an impact on your self-care routine and your style, Empowerography would love to offer you a discount code to one of our exclusive partners, Quartz & Canary Jewelry and Wellness Company. Please use code EMPOWER15 to receive 15% off upon checkout at www.quartzandcanary.com. Quartz & Canary is truly the place where spirituality meets style. Hello, everyone. Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Kelly Ramsdell. She is a life coach, author, and speaker based out of Southern New Jersey. How are you doing today, Kelly?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Great
to have you here. Thanks for agreeing to be part of my collective movement, whatever you want to call it. I appreciate you being here.
I'm just really happy to be here and to spend a little time with you.
Well, thank you. So let's jump right in. So you're a life coach, a consultant, a speaker, and an author. You help women in midlife dig their way out of clutter in their lives and their living spaces. How long have you been helping women declutter?
Okay, so helping people declutter, probably a decade, but doing it as part of my life coaching, only about a year.
Oh, okay. Now, do the two types of decluttering that you work on with your clients go hand in hand, or do some of your clients just come to you for one or the other?
Well, so the short answer is yes.
Okay.
So yes, they go hand in hand, and yes, sometimes people come to me for just one or the other, because a lot of times people are stuck. This is what I find is that especially a lot of women in midlife find themselves sort of boxed in this stuck space.
Right.
And there's a whole lot of different ways to get yourself unstuck.
Okay.
So decluttering your space is one of those ways, because you're literally clearing out like things that tie you to the past.
Yeah.
Right. And you're getting rid of things that might be holding you down or weighing you down. You're getting rid of things that are no longer useful. So that is one way of sort of shaking things loose and getting unstuck. But some people are not, either they don't think they have a problem with clutter, or they're not in a place where that's their focus, and they just want to work on other sorts of like life coaching type things and so I still think of that as decluttering. I think of it as decluttering some of your negative beliefs or your negative self-talk, or decluttering some of the ideas and thoughts you have that keep you stuck.
Decluttering your mind.
And so it really does dovetail. It's just different ways in work well for different people, and some people want to work on both at the same time, and so it works both ways.
So how long have you been a life coach, and what inspires and excites you about being a life coach?
I have been a life coach for a little over a year, so it's sort of a newer thing for me.
Right.
And I found my way there in what happened was I was doing a lot of writing. I was doing a lot of poetry and fiction writing and writing for children, and that was maybe 15 years of my life.
Right.
And then I started to do some art to try to shake some things free for myself. That's another way of getting unstuck, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I thought, well, I'd really like to help other people loosen things up, and that's how I sort of made that transition over time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Once you beat your way out of a box yourself, you're like, oh, well, there would have been easier ways to do this, and I could help other people find that easier way.
Yeah, I want to share this with the world and help people find an easier way.
Yeah.
not have to struggle the way I did to beat my way out of the box, as you say.
Yeah, it turns out there was a much easier path that I could have taken. It's like the top was open.
I like that analogy. Beat your way out of a box and the top was open. But at least you can give back and put people on an easier path than what you had gone through. So
that is the hope, yes.
Yeah. Now, do you work specifically with women only? And if so, why did you decide to focus your business specifically on women?
Mostly I do work with women, although I find that I'm no longer really comfortable saying women.
Okay.
Only because I think there's a lot of issues about gender identity now. And so you have people who are non-binary, and I wouldn't want them to feel unwelcome in my space.
Right.
So.
Okay. Fair enough. That makes sense. Could you walk us through your process from the time a client contacts you to work with you to your process with them, and just give us a bit of an overview, bird's eye view of what you do with your clients?
Certainly. So what I do is it usually starts, most of the people I work with have come into contact with me either personally or it feels enough like personally by the time they want to work with me, because there's somebody that has been following me on social media or interacting in some way. And so it basically begins as a conversation.
Yeah.
If you're thinking that you might be interested in working with me, you can there's a scheduling portion on my website.
Yep.
Where you fill out like a little intake form, I guess, question. Yeah. And then we would do a free half-hour discovery call, which is just getting to talk and know each other and figure out, for that person, they need to figure out, well, is Kelly the right person for me? Like, do I feel comfortable with her? Is this something that I feel like she could help me with? And it's a two-way call, though, because I also like to feel my way into that conversation and figure out, is this a person I feel I can help?
Yeah.
Because, if your issues are something that's like not in my purview, I'm not going to take a client on.
Right.
Because it's not about money, right? It's about energy, and it's about helping other people. And so I'm not saying that money's not involved. I'm just saying, like, that's not the point of it. The whole point of it is to be able to be of use to somebody else and be of assistance. And if my skill set isn't the right match for them, then I would suggest that they find somebody else, whether it's, sometimes I can give a direct referral.
Yeah.
Sometimes I might suggest that they look maybe in a different venue, because sometimes people think they need a life coach when what they need is a therapist. Right. Those are a little different.
Yeah, for sure. But there has to be that chemistry there between the two of you. And I mean, if there's no chemistry, it's not going to work.
Well, that's true too. I mean, I think if, this is a slight digression, but there's a show on Netflix called Indian Matchmaking.
Okay.
And there was, we'll just follow along for a second. There's this one woman on there who they profile, who at first is very reluctant. She has asked for this matchmaker to come to the United States and find a match for her. Mm-hmm. And the woman shows up and she's like, okay, what do you want? And, she makes the list and she's like, well, this woman's like going to be difficult to fit because she's so resistant. And so there are people who know they need help, but they're resistant also to accepting help. And so that can be difficult.
Yeah.
So with a person like that, there might not be what you would call easy chemistry, but if the need on that person's part is there, and I think we're a good fit otherwise, that's not a reason not to enter into a business relationship.
Makes sense. So. Yeah. Okay. Now, I also read that you do a lot of work with helping reduce anxiety. Is this something that a lot of your clients come to you for? And can you talk about or give us a few tips on how to reduce anxiety?
Yes, I can definitely give you some tips. So I think what happens is people do not come to me because they want to reduce anxiety. They come to me because they are feeling usually stuck or sort of boxed in where they are. They want to either break something open, move to a next level, find some accountability. There's a lot of people who are just looking for somebody to help them sort out their priorities and then sort of hold them accountable for taking steps.
Okay.
So I do a lot of that. What I find is that quite a lot of people with whom I deal have anxiety, and a lot of people in my online world definitely have anxiety now because 2020 being the year of coronavirus, a lot of people who don't typically have anxiety, or anxiety is like a diagnosis, right? Are very anxious all the time. And so, I just, I do have some tips for how to deal with that. In fact, I have a book on how to deal with that. Okay. I have 2 books. I have one called Lower Your Anxiety.
Yeah.
Remember I said before we went live, I said I'm very much about what you see is what you get. So Lower Your Anxiety is one, and the other is 12 tips to help you sleep, because anxiousness and sleep issues go hand in hand.
And where can people find these books?
The ebooks are both available on my website, and they're actually half price for the entire month of August, because I'm doing my damnedest to get them out to as many people as might need it. And also there's a whole lot of posts on my website under weekly tips.
Okay.
There's probably something like 30 blog posts under weekly tips that would deal with things like lowering your anxiety, sleeping better, different ways of doing those things. So some of them are breathing techniques. There's things like boxed breathing, where you sort of inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, right? So it's the 4 sides of a box.
Right.
Personally, I know lots of people like that one. Personally, that one makes me a little bit anxious, because I feel like I'm regulating something that should be a natural process, and it makes me feel like I can't breathe right, which is sort of funny. But so that's why I give like a lot of different breathing techniques. There's tips. Meditation is one of the things that I recommend for basically anything. It's meditation, because there's no way to do it right. There's no way to do it wrong.
Right.
If that makes any sense. So most people are like, well, I can't do it right because my mind wanders. And I was like, that's what your brain is designed to do. So that, you, as long as you're coming back to whatever your primary focus is, whether it's a word, it's your breath, if you're just like thinking, okay, inhale 1, exhale 1.
I would imagine that's
a
common thing that people say to you, though, is I have trouble meditating because my mind is constantly running, right?
Yeah, if your mind wasn't running, you'd be dead.
Yeah. So how do people get past that and get into that meditative state when their mind is just constantly going? Like, how do you quiet the mind?
You don't. That for me. What I have figured out is you don't quiet the mind. You think of the mind as an overactive toddler at the zoo. Okay. So it's constantly running around to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and looking and looking and looking. But if what you wanted to do is like see the elephant, for instance.
Yeah.
Okay. But so you just go over and take your brain by the hand and bring it back and say, okay, here, let's look at the elephant. And then when it runs off to look at the ice cream vendor or whatever, you pull it back. No, let's look at the elephant.
Lion, whatever it is.
Let's look at the elephant. Yeah. So, so for me, I tend to use a word or a mantra, only because focusing on breathing, as I had already said, stresses me out.
Yes.
So, for people who can focus on their breathing, I think that's good. But you can do something as simple as just counting to 20, like, or counting 20 breaths. That's a good thing to try to do.
Okay.
So you're not trying to regulate the breath at all. You're just counting how many breaths you take. It is harder than you think because your mind does start to wander and you're just like, wait a minute, what was that last number? And, you know, it's like you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I was just thinking about, you know, going to the grocery store and whatever. I have to come back to my numbers.
Yes.
Right. So what was that last number? So it's actually trickier than you would think to count, but you can count.
Right.
Just anything that's a singular focus that you can come back to. So for me, I like some of the Sanskrit mantras, like Om is a good one, or So Hum, which means I am.
Okay.
All right. So just So Hum. So if I think So Hum, when I realize that I am wandering down the produce aisle at the store looking for avocados in my mind, you know, I just come back and I'm like, wait a minute, come back here, So Hum. And then for a little while longer, I'll be able to think So Hum. And if you keep repeating that in your brain, sometimes you'll find that there's this thing happens and you say, so in your mind, So Hum, So Hum. And in between those two iterations inside your brain, for just that little minuscule break, there was nothing. And that is the stillness of mind that people are talking about. And it is just like shorter than a lightning flash.
Yeah.
Right? It's a really tiny little gap. And about the time that happens, you think, oh, look at me, I'm meditating, I found the space. And at which point you realize you're thinking, wait, no, I'm thinking about this. So therefore, no, So Hum. You just come back to where you were.
Yeah.
But I think meditation is great. It's great for sleep. It's great for focus. It's great for calming down any stress or anxiety that you might have. I can't think of anything that it doesn't actually help, and there's nothing that it's bad for.
It's all good.
It's all good. It's all upside.
I also read that you are by nature an introvert. So how does an introvert become a public speaker and coach? I'm very curious.
Okay, so introverts are just folks who like a lot of time by themselves, and that's where we get our energy from, is time alone.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean, like, if you met me at a party, you wouldn't be like, oh, look at her, she's an introvert. Because introvert doesn't mean shy. It just means that I can go into a room, I can socialize like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that part's great. But then what happens is I then need, once that party is over, I need to step back and I need to have some quiet and some peace and some time by myself to sort of pull my energy back into myself and power up again.
Some Kelly time.
It's sort of like what charges your battery. For some people, like my husband is a little more of an extrovert, so you know he gets his the juice in his battery charges up when he's mixing with other people and hanging around near people. He's not actually as chatty as I am.
Right.
But he takes that energy. He gets that energy from being around other people, whereas I tend to get my energy from being by myself. And so that's what fills my battery, is my alone time.
Okay. I'm an introvert as well, and I am a shy person. So
well, and that's the thing, is you can be both, right? So and that's fascinating that you're a shy person, and here you are having all of these conversations with strangers.
I know. It's very, very strange. And my wife is an absolute extrovert. So as they say, opposites attract, right?
Balance. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What is your favorite part of your career?
My favorite part is probably just, I love talking with people, interestingly enough. But I like also, I love the personalities. I love the people I deal with. I love seeing somebody take a piece of advice or take something that they hadn't thought of before and applying it and getting results. It's just, it's not like being a parent at all, because
Right.
that's not the dynamic, but it's that almost the same pride that you feel when you see like one of your kids, develop a new skill or learn to ride a bike, or whatever it happens to be, where you're just like, oh, look at that. I love seeing other people flourish.
Yeah. Yeah. What made you decide to getting into helping people declutter, though, specifically? Why that?
This is a good question. So what I did is I was thinking, I was hanging out in a group online, and somebody asked if somebody said to you, you have to get up on the stage right now and give a presentation for an hour and you've had no time to prepare, do you have a topic that you could talk about for an hour without preparation? And I was like, yes, decluttering. I can talk about decluttering for probably a 4-hour or 6-hour period without preparation, because I really love it. And I have serious thoughts and theories about it. And I have my own process for how I think people should go about dealing with it, which is why I created a course on my website.
Right.
So under Actually I Can, I actually have a course called the Declutter course. What you see is what you get.
What you get, yeah. I was about to say that.
Yep. And so what I do is it's so good for you in so many ways. And so part of it is, if you think about what clutter is pieces of your past that you no longer value.
Okay.
In some ways, right? Because it could be like old sports equipment for a sport that you don't practice or participate in any longer.
Right.
It could be, a whole pile of cross stitch or quilting supplies or something like that, or some craft object. But it also could be clothes that don't fit or that don't make you feel good, or they're out of fashion and you don't care for them anymore. It could be, a set of dishes that you no longer like or that you never use. They're all things that, we're like Pigpen from Charlie Brown. We just sort of collect up all this stuff and it follows us around. And that's sort of what physical clutter is. And the beauty of it is if you clear that out, it leaves sort of an energetic gap. Yeah. I get a little woo about it sometimes, but it leaves this space for other new, fresh energy to enter and to that's meaningful to you now at this time, right? So if you have a set, we'll make it super simple. If you had a set of dishes that you really hate and every day you use them, you pull them out and you think, oh, I hate these dishes, but they're serviceable, so you're not getting rid of them.
Yeah.
Right? So if you really dislike them that much, if you were to release them, you would have to, it would obviously leave a gap in your cupboard and on your table, which you would then be able to fill with something that had more positive energy attached to it.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. And it's good karma, I think, to release things that are no longer serving you. So like if you have clothes that are 2 sizes too big or too small, and you're just keeping them just in case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else right now doesn't have clothes at all.
Right.
And really, what are the odds of your just in case? And if and when that comes, are you still going to want those clothes?
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Okay. What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
Superpower? I think one of my, I have, despite the fact that I'm just fumbling over this answer, decent communication skills, especially when I write. But I think I'm pretty good at breaking things down into manageable action steps. So it doesn't sound, my other superpower is that I can always fit things into the refrigerator or dishwasher, no matter how full they look. But these are not sexy superpowers, right? So, yeah. But though that's what I have is I can take a large task and break it into manageable chunks that people can like grab hold of and manage to work through. Because sometimes that's what it takes, right? Is like you need action steps in order. So
yeah. Okay. Is there anything that you wish you had known when you started out that you know now?
Oh, probably. Sorry. I would think I knew when I started that it was going to take a while to gain traction and, visibility and all those things. And so that part hasn't actually been an issue. I think if I had realized at the start, though, how easy it can be to be consistent and show up for people and just it's putting in the work, right? So
yeah.
It's actually in some ways easier than I thought it could be, only because as long as you are consistent with whatever it is, whether it's, for you, it's recording these podcasts and putting them out at the interval that you set for yourself, that's kind of a big thing. So for me, it's making sure that, I'm showing up for my community regularly and giving, providing content that is hopefully useful.
Okay, that makes sense. To date, what would you say is your biggest high or your greatest win?
I think it might be this summer issue of Natural Wellness magazine that I have near me, because I have an article in there.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's like it's a national or possibly international publication.
Amazing. Good for you.
So yeah, I was really excited about that. I mean, I was really super excited when Tiny Buddha took one of my articles too. So like those kinds of things are good. As far as like big wins,
those are great achievements.
Thank you. Yeah. So
I'm very proud of.
I am super proud of both of those. And so those to me are like the bigger sort of sexy wins, but the more satisfying part is probably seeing my clients get results for themselves.
Yeah, of course. Kelly, what would you say is the best advice or one of the best pieces of advice you've ever received?
I think some of the best advice that I have received has come from motivational signs or those kinds of posts. So don't quit your daydream is one.
Okay.
Which is in a piece of artwork above my desk that my husband bought this for me several years ago because he wanted to remind me that, the idea of helping, this was before I had moved into coaching, and he wanted to remind me that my dreams of helping other people, were valid, just because I couldn't figure out at that point in time how I wanted to do that or what that might look like. Not to give up on that, not to give up on your dreams. Yeah.
I like that. How do you define success? What does that word mean to you?
It's interesting because I think a lot of people look at success as outward manifestations of things. To me, success is internal. So I think success is about feeling comfortable and happy. And happy might not be the right word, but feeling comfortable and content with what you have or with what you have accomplished.
Okay, I like that one. I think people also, liken success to monetary value as well.
Yeah, or to fame, right? Like,
Yes.
oh well, she won an award, so that's a success,
Yes.
right? And I'm like, well, okay, but maybe it depends on the circumstances.
Maybe. What is one book you would like to suggest to listeners in the audience?
So, oftentimes I recommend some of the many self-help type books that I use and love, but I'm going to go with a book called The Best of It.
The Best of It, okay.
Which is New and Selected Poems by Kay Ryan. She was the U.S. Poet Laureate from 2008 to 2010. So it's a collection of poems, and she writes these sort of gorgeous, sometimes short, slender poems that are just, they're super thought-provoking. They're beautiful. She accomplishes so much with an economy of words, and so I would go with The Best of It by Kay Ryan.
What makes you feel inspired or like your best self, Kelly?
I was tempted to say coffee. But what makes me feel inspired is really, it's a day-to-day process that keeps rolling.
Yeah.
So I'm an optimist by nature, and so every day I wake up usually in an optimistic frame of mind. That can actually, go downhill depending on what happens during the day. But
yes, the events of the day
but mostly I'm able to reset, and part of that I credit for my meditation practice, which has been a thing I've been doing for about 12 years now. Because it does, the other thing, circling back to that briefly, is the meditation allows you to have like a pause before you react.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and you realize that your reactions are not necessarily automatic. They can be a choice. And so I feel like what makes me inspired is just waking up every day knowing that, it's a blank slate.
Yeah.
And I wake up with the mindset that good things are going to happen. Excellent.
That's a good way to think. It's a good way to start your day. Because if you start your day out with negative thoughts, it's going to be hard you got to rearrange that mindset and change, because if you don't, your day's off to a bad start, and I could just see negative things happening if you start off with that mindset.
Well, and that's the thing is, things that happen are neutral, but we view them in a different way.
Right.
Right. So there's all those old stories about like some village, and the army comes and they say, we need your son to come join the army. And the old man says, well, my son's not here right now. Mm-hmm. And so he doesn't get to go into the army. And somebody says, oh, well, that's good. And he said, well, is it good? Because my son wasn't here, but then he fell off a cliff. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And usually that form of story goes on and on. Well, when he fell off the cliff, he landed in a tree, and so he wasn't badly injured, and he found, a bag of gold. Oh, well, that's good. Well, but it belonged to this other man who chased him. Well, that's bad, right? So things that occur to us are sort of neutral, really. We attribute whether they're good or bad. And so I think if you wake up in a negative frame of mind, you're looking for affirmation that your negative frame of mind is correct.
Yeah.
So you're going to look at everything through that lens and say, okay, well, instead of an action being neutral, if somebody doesn't say hello to you in the store, you can say, oh, well, they were rude to me. They don't like me.
That person,
whatever.
Grumpy or what? Yeah.
They're grumpy, or they don't think I'm worth talking to. Whatever. Yeah. You're going to try to spiral that into where you already are.
Yeah.
Whereas it could be that they're wrapped up in their own headspace. They didn't even see you.
Yes, exactly.
So you just never know. But I do think that you filter things through.
Yeah.
Through that lens. And so, yeah, you're always looking for confirmation. Also, I think most people are anyway, that whatever you're feeling is correct.
Yeah. Validation.
You're looking for that validation, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're looking for everything to suck and you spill your coffee, then woe is me, this is awful. I have spilled my coffee, and this is just further confirmation that everything about life is terrible. But if you were in a good mood and you spilled your coffee, you'd be like, crap.
Oh, well.
Wipe it up, move on, next thing.
Exactly.
And it's no biggie. And it's really no biggie. Yeah, everybody makes a mistake. It's not a big thing. So
yeah, that's right. What would you say is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before learning it? And what was your life like after learning it?
I think for me, one of the most important things that I have learned is that we get to choose how we feel about things, which it's interesting because that kind of dovetails with that prior conversation. But it's a choice. It's our choice to be happy.
Yeah.
Happiness is a choice. It's not some goal that's at the end. Like when I do all these things, then I'll be happy. You can be happy right now.
Yes.
And that's a choice that you make, and you get to take that with you. And that's how life is. So it's the same thing with love or with other things. Some of those are choices that we make regularly. And so as long as you're tuning into that, but I do think especially happiness or contentment is something that you can take with you on the journey. It's not the end result of anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's never at the end.
No.
Because when you get to that end, then you're like, wait, there's another point further in the distance, and right. I'll be happy then. Well, if you keep deferring happiness, you're never going to get there. So
that's right. How would you like to be remembered?
Kindly.
I like that. How would you describe yourself in one word?
Complicated.
What makes you smile?
My husband, my cat, my kids.
What does the word empowerment mean to you?
For me, because I'm sort of a rule-following person, the dictionary definition always comes into mind. So for me, it's about giving people the right and ability to make their own choices.
I like that. What is one of your favorite quotes?
There is nothing either good or bad except thinking makes it so, which is Shakespeare, and I think it's Romeo and Juliet, but I'm not positive on the sourcing. I know it's Shakespeare.
I can remember being in school and I hated having to read Shakespeare, but after I finished school and started going back and reading some of this, I gained such an appreciation for it. It's just so funny the way things work.
Oh yeah. I know it's not one of your questions because I've listened to enough episodes of your podcast, but if you were stranded on a desert island, what book would you take? For me, it would be Hamlet.
Yeah. Because
there's just so much going on and so much about human nature, and it's just, so yeah.
Yeah. It's funny the way that works. When you have to do it, it's like, I don't want to read this. I don't like this. I don't want to do this. And then when it's not forced at you.
It's harder too with Shakespeare because the Elizabethan English is a little trickier, and
yes.
Also in school they don't teach you some of the naughty bits. There's quite a lot of humor inside
Absolutely.
Shakespeare that's based in knowing a little bit about Elizabethan language and what some of the Elizabethan slang was. And they don't teach that when you're in school usually. And so later on when you realize, what some of it is, and you're like, why was this scene even here? And it's like, because the people who watched it at the time were like flat out on the floor, like hysterically laughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was a whole bunch of Elizabethan slang.
That's right. What's the first thing you notice about a person?
I was going to say their eyes, but I think really for me, it's their energy. I tend to really react to I don't see auras or any, because I don't.
Yeah.
I know people who do, and I think that's super cool. But I do feel energy quite a lot. I think that's one of the reasons that I'm an introvert, because I kind of need to pull back from other people's energy.
Yeah.
But so I do notice their energy. Like I can tell, if it's very like a yang energy that's very like action oriented, in your face, maybe a little aggressive, or whether it's, a quieter in energy. So I definitely notice energy first.
Okay. Who have been the 3 most influential people in your life, would you say?
I would say my maternal grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
my grandma Stewart, and I think my 2 daughters.
We can count your daughters as one if you'd like.
Well, okay. So, yeah, Sarah and Maggie, definitely a huge influence. I think I'll count them separately because they have influenced me in different ways. It's interesting because my older daughter, Sarah, is very accepting of other people, and she is slow to anger and quick to forgive.
Okay.
Which is a little bit opposite of me.
Yeah.
Not that I'm quick to anger, and I don't hold massive grudges, but she's just at a whole other level. And I find that really inspiring.
Yeah.
And then my younger daughter, she's got some anxiety issues, but she just lives her life so boldly. She got out of college and went and lived for over 2 years in Africa in the U.S. Peace Corps.
Wow.
Yeah. And, and she was in Lesotho, which is a mountain kingdom it's surrounded by South Africa. It's actually landlocked. Okay. And so she was speaking Sesotho, which is the language of the people there. And
amazing.
Yeah. And so I just find her gumption so inspiring. So I would say that those are the 3 most influential people.
You are a new addition to the crayon box. What color would you be and why?
My color's name would probably be Indecisive. And it would be one of those crayons that's like smushed up of all the different other colors. So like you never knew what you were going to get when you scribbled with it.
I like that answer. That's different. It's interesting.
Well, partially because as soon as you say crayon box, I think about colors, right? And then I'm just like, I'm not a good person for like, what's your favorite? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite song? Oh, it depends. Yeah. It depends. So Indecisive, that would be me.
I like it. Indecisive. The new color.
It's the new color. From this angle, it looks this color, and from the other angle, it looks something else.
And when you write with it holding it this way, or scribble with it when you hold, or color with it when you hold it this way, it looks like this. When you hold it this way, it looks like that. If you could sit and have a conversation with any one person in the world, alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Okay, so I think I would pick Jane Austen.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of her writing. I once upon a time wrote a biography of Jane Austen in verse using period forms, which unfortunately never sold, but it was a fantastic use of probably 5 years of my life.
Wow.
But I have read each of her novels at least a dozen times, and I find her really, and I've also read all of her preserved correspondence. There's a book out that includes all of her letters. Mm-hmm. And I just think it would be, I don't know that she would be in any hurry to divulge anything in particular to a stranger, because I think she would not. But to the extent that we could assume that she would participate in the conversation, I think it would be, interesting to get a better sense of who she was, because if you read her books and her letters, she comes off as very like earthy and sometimes catty. Mm-hmm. Definitely like very, funny and sometimes a little bit, harsh or bitter even. Yeah. And I just love to see all that. I mean, she was cleaned up by her family in biographies where they tried to make her into this proper Victorian woman, but she was dead long before the Victorian era.
Right.
She died in 1818. So, I think that it would be fascinating to get a better sense of who she was as a person. So that's my person and why.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
I think it would be don't worry so much, because most of it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like that. And lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? And keep in mind, it doesn't have to be exactly 30 seconds. It can be 15. It can be, a minute, whatever you want.
Well, I'm very uncertain why I would be making any speech to the world. So I think if we're talking about sort of like an end of life type of a thing, then I would think that my last 30 seconds would be spent telling my husband, assuming that he is not gone before me, and my children, just, how much I love them and how important they were to me. If however, for some reason, I were giving a speech to the entire world for whatever reason, and then taking my leave because I'm going into retirement, I think I would probably also tell the world not to worry so much and to take more chances, to do the things that you're called to do and that seem inspiring to you. And just because other people don't necessarily see your vision, or because you're not sure what your skill set is, you should still try to do what you can to go for that, to see whether or not, that's the thing that lights you up and that brings more positive things to the world.
Love it. Love it. I like both versions. Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and spend with me today and share your insights and a bit about your journey and what you're doing and where you're at in your career and your business. I appreciate you taking the time to share with us today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Well, it's been great being here. Thank you so much.
Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest was Kelly Ramsdell. She is a life coach, author, and speaker based out of Southern New Jersey. Thanks again, Kelly. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.